Hello, I just want to keep recording that video that that PowerPoint that we were looking at the other day. Just get it on screen. So, this is what we were talking about before, about how during the day, because there's so little vegetation, not having a good morning, because there's so little moisture in the atmosphere, so little clouds, that any heat, any radiation will get through really easily. So especially when the sun's high in the sky, it'll heat up the ground very, very easily, and heats the air above it. It gets very, very warm. And as some people said in this class, it's also because there's little vegetation to stop the sun getting through. So they were right as well. And then the same thing at night. The heat this time, because when it comes in, it's shortwave radiation gets transferred to longwave radiation, which is heat. And then during the night, the heat can escape really easily and really quickly because there's little moisture in the atmosphere again, which means there's little insulation to stop the heat escaping. It's a bit like not having any blankets on your bed. And the heat from your body will escape really easily if it's a cold night. It's the same with the ground, because there's nothing to stop the heat escaping. It can get very cold at night in deserts, very cold. Okay, this is looking at constructing a climate graph. You guys can do that maybe later on. These are some of the landforms in deserts, plateaus. You'll be reading this. Mesa. Bat. People love that. So that's how you pronounce it. Looks like you can pronounce it butte if you're very upset about calling it a bat. But they're just different types of landform you get from all the erosion that occurs in deserts, because the amount of erosion in deserts is massive. Whenever it rains, the water all runs off because it rains pretty heavily usually, and the amount of erosion is enormous. It's actually more than anywhere else. There's nothing holding the soil, the sand together, so a lot of it washes away and leaves all these landforms behind. There's the wadi too. I'll show you what they look like. Oh, a few more. Alluvial fans, player lakes, inselbergs. That's a good example of an inselberg's Uluru, Ayers Rock. And then there's Bolson. Dunes. It's an erg surface, sandy desert they call. Stony desert, reg surface, we call them Gibbard plains in Australia. They occur because all the rocks have eroded away and the sand on top gets blown away and leaves them behind. So you get these rocky plains. And this is a rocky desert. Hamada. And these are some of those features we were looking at, the landform features. That's the bat. It's isolated, small top in comparison to its base. This one is plateau. It's a large area, flat surface. This is a mesa. That's not actually really good. Doesn't really show it that well. And this is a canyon in between that's been eroded away. This is an alluvial fan. I'll show you there's better ones of mesas. That's a better one of mesa. It sort of shows. This might be a plateau. It's been eroded away. There's the canyon. This is more resistant rock. The softer rock gets eroded away. And when it's been all eroded away, this cliff's retreating because of all the erosion. When it's all eroded away by wind and water moving through it, this is when it leaves a bigger mesa, which has quite a wide base, quite a big base, top, and this but with a small, most of it's been eroded away. Okay, these are different types of dunes, Barkin, transverse, you can read them later. Longitudinal, that's when the wind runs parallel. You can't really do that because this was from another textbook. Never mind. And again, these are all the features you can look at. There's a few extra ones there, like the pediment, shallow slope at the foot of, that's everything that's eroded away and it's deposited there. Salt pans, players, where there was a lake, but it's all evaporated away. It's just left the sand behind. Oasis, they're vital in desert areas. All the same things. Wadi is a dry gully. And a few other things. There's Inselberg. Bud again, Mesa again, Plateau again. And I'd also say Canyon in there. There's the transverse dunes. Great photo. Look at them. The winds run parallel. The winds run these ways. It's a gibber plain or stony desert or reg. It's a sandy desert, erg. Inselbergs. Rocks left behind. Barken dune when the wind blows this way. Star dunes, because they're star-shaped from the top. You can sort of see it there. It's not really a great example. They're the really big dunes that form. Huge they can be. Alluvial fan, it's all the eroded stuff away. An arc, because it's blown straight through with wind erosion. There's an animation you can look at on that. There's the Butts. That's in, what's it called? The Monument Valley in the US. Badlands, just everything's been eroded away. You can look at these photos and see which one's the odd one out. Think about which one's the odd one out. There was one there. There you go. There's questions. They all look rather mountainous with exposed rock and very steep slopes. I put these three together, I think. So I just put that one, and that one together. What do you think? These ones you can group with flat areas, kind of bumpy. Okay, that's the odd one out because it's water. You know, it's eroded it in a different way. The others are all sort of, yeah. Okay, these are the processes. There's erosion, picking up and removal of material through wind, water, ice, waves and gravity. Well, waves are part of water erosion. Gravity is actually more to do with weathering because the rocks break down in situ and then they fall down a slope with landslides and things like that. So it's not really, I mean, the gravity's part of it because gravity's what leads to all these, to water and ice moving down slope. Sort of not quite part of erosion, so it's not quite right that. And there's the weathering. It's breaking down into smaller materials through the action of weather, but it can move down slope through gravity. Temperature changes, rainfall, wind. Deposition, material gets deposited. Might just leave it there for now, and we'll come back and have a look at the rest later. Pretty good, eh? See ya.